The US dollar has fallen by more than 10% in 2025. Is the single worst start to a year for the world's reserve currency in over half a century, since the chaotic stagflation of 1973. To the average person, it feels like turbulence. To the market, it feels like a warning. But to a small, powerful group of economic strategists, it feels like the beginning of a plan. This is not an accident. This is a controlled demolition. There is a playbook being followed, a secret strategy that has been openly discussed in the highest financial circles. They call it the Mar-a-Lago Accord. It is a plan to deliberately and systematically weaken the US dollar. And while they sell it to the public as a way to bring back American jobs, its true purpose is far more disparate. It is a high-stakes gamble to solve America's greatest crisis, an unpayable mountain of debt. This isn't a new idea. This exact playbook has been run before. And to understand the catastrophic consequences it could unleash, we have to go back to 1985 to a secret meeting at the Plaza Hotel in New York. The year is 1985. The United States is facing a crisis. Under Federal Reserve Chairman Paul Volcker, interest rates had been jacked up to 20% to kill the runaway inflation of the 1970s. It worked, but it had a massive side effect. These sky-high interest rates made the US dollar the most attractive currency in the world. Global capital flooded into America, and the value of the dollar surged by nearly 50% against other major currencies like the Japanese yen and the German Deutschmark. This super-strong dollar was devastating for American industry. US exports became incredibly expensive for the rest of the world to buy. Meanwhile, imports from Japan and Germany became dirt cheap for Americans. The result was the hollowing out of American manufacturing. The Rust Belt was born. Steel mills, auto plants, and factories across the American heartland closed down. Millions of jobs were lost. The US was facing massive trade deficits and the threat of a full-blown protectionist trade war, as Congress was on the verge of passing bills to block foreign imports. Something had to be done. On September 22, 1985, the finance ministers of the 5 largest economies, the G5, met in secret at the Plaza Hotel, announced an agreement that would shock the world. In a coordinated intervention, they would work together to deliberately devalue the US dollar. It was called the Plaza Accord, and it worked with terrifying efficiency. The central banks of Japan and Germany began selling US dollars and buying their own currencies on a massive scale. The value of the dollar plummeted. In just 2 years, from 1985 to 1987, the dollar fell by over 40%. For America, the plan seemed like a success. The US trade deficit improved. The pressure for protectionism eased. But for Japan, it was a catastrophe that echoes to this very day. To counteract the crushing effect of their newly expensive currency on their export-driven economy, the Bank of Japan did the only thing it could. It slashed interest rates and flooded the country with cheap money. This triggered the most insane asset price bubble in modern history. Japanese stocks and real estate soared to unimaginable heights. At its peak, the land underneath the Imperial Palace in Tokyo was estimated to be worth more than all the real estate in the entire state of California. It was a fantasy. And in 1989, that fantasy came to a violent end. The bubble burst. The Nikkei stock index crashed, and Japan was plunged into a period of deflation and economic stagnation that came to be known as the Lost Decade, a decade that has now stretched into 3. Japan has never truly recovered. The Plaza Accord, designed to solve America's problem, had destroyed its closest ally. It was a stark lesson in the dangerous, unpredictable consequences of currency manipulation. Now, let's come back to today. Why is this history so critical? Because Donald Trump's own economic team is openly proposing to do it again. His Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and his Chief Economic Advisor, Stephen Meron, have publicly outlined a plan for a Mar-a-Lago Accord, a modern version of the Plaza Accord. Their stated goal is the same as in 1985, to weaken the dollar and make American manufacturing competitive again. But the world of 2025 is not the world of 1985. Back then, the US was a creditor nation, and it could pressure its close allies, Japan and Germany, to cooperate. Today, the US is the world's largest debtor nation, and its primary targets, China and Europe, are strategic rivals, not compliant allies. They have no incentive to help America devalue its way back to prosperity. So the new playbook is different. It is not based on cooperation. It is based on force. The plan, as outlined in a paper by Miran, titled A User's Guide to Restructuring the Global Trading System, is to use tariffs as a weapon. Aggressive punitive tariffs would be used to inflict economic pain, forcing trading partners to the negotiating table to accept a weaker dollar. This is the real purpose of the tariff threats. They are not an end in themselves. They are the leverage for a much larger, more dangerous game. But even this is not the full story. The push to bring back manufacturing is the public justification. But there is a deeper, more desperate reason for this plan. A reason that connects directly to the final stage of every fallen empire. The United States is in a fiscal death spiral. Its $38 trillion debt is unpayable. This is a mathematical fact. When a country is in this position, it has only 3 ways out. 1. Default on the debt, which would trigger an immediate global collapse. 2. Drastically cut spending and raise taxes in a wave of crippling austerity, which is politically impossible. Or 3. The historical option. The option every debt-ridden empire eventually chooses. You inflate the debt away. This is the hidden genius and the terrifying danger of the Mar-a-Lago Accord. By deliberately weakening the dollar, the administration would be allowing inflation to run hot. And when inflation runs hot, the real value of the old debt shrinks. You are effectively paying back your past loans with money that is worth significantly less. It is a stealth default, a secret tax on every person who holds your currency. This is a state of fiscal dominance, where the central bank is no longer fighting inflation. It is forced to keep interest rates low and print money to help the government manage its impossible debt burden. This is the real endgame. But this high-wire act has catastrophic risks. First, as the Plaza Accord proved, currency devaluations are almost impossible to control. A planned 40% decline can easily spiral into a complete collapse of confidence. Second, the geopolitical landscape is a tinderbox. Forcing a weaker dollar on rivals like China could easily escalate the current trade war into a full-blown economic conflict, shattering global supply chains. And third, and most importantly for you, is the direct impact on your daily life. A deliberately weakened dollar means that the price of everything you import goes up. The gas for your car, the electronics in your home, the clothes you wear, the food on your table. It means your international travel becomes vastly more expensive. Most insidiously, it means the purchasing power of every dollar you have in savings, in your 401k, in your pension, is systematically eroded. It is a direct transfer of wealth from your savings account to the government to help them pay for their past promises. The final bitter irony is the public messaging. In public testimony, the administration speaks of a strong dollar policy. President Trump promises a $2,000 tariff dividend for every family, framing the tariffs as a source of national income. But as economists have repeatedly shown, tariffs are not paid by foreign countries. They are a tax paid by domestic consumers and businesses in the form of higher prices. The promise of a dividend is a classic piece of political misdirection. It is offering to give you back a small piece of the money that was taken from your own pocket through higher prices in the first place. It is the oldest trick in the book. The blueprint is in motion. The public is being told one story, a story of strength, dividends, and American revival. But the playbook, both the one they have written and the historical one they are copying, tells a completely different story. It is a story of deliberate currency devaluation, of inflating away a mountain of debt, and of playing a dangerous game with the world's reserve currency. They are not just playing with fire. They are pouring gasoline on it and hoping they can control the explosion. The dollar has already fallen over 10%. The first domino has been pushed. The historical precedent of the Plaza Accord shows us that once this process starts, it can move with shocking speed and have consequences that last for generations. The greatest wealth transfer in history is not a prediction. It has already begun. The only question is whether you are positioned to survive it. If you are ready to continue decoding the financial myths that shape our world, subscribe to Economythics and click the notification bell.